What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Planet Coaster. Welcome back to Cedar Flags. We are finally getting our second roller coaster. It's probably been a long time coming, but yes, we are finally designing the new coaster. Now, this episode is only going to be track design, so we will be able to see the evolution of what has transpired over nearly 8 hours of designing a roller coaster. Turns out, it's kind of hard to make a roller coaster. It's like people go to school to learn this or something. I did not. So, yes, I think we got it to a point where it's a really cool concept. Now, this episode may turn into a little bit of a rant at points, because during the whole construction, this coaster probably should have taken maybe 4 hours to build. 8 hours was because I was trying to figure out some things, but we'll get to that as we get to it. Now, normally I like to have you guys name stuff for us and get you guys involved. We'll do that a little bit different in this episode because I've come up with the concept already. This coaster is going to be called Gravity Mod. Now, I love how this title and concept kind of brings together the whole gaming aspect, but it also plays really nicely into the dive coaster. I don't think I mentioned it yet. Yes, this is a dive coaster. So the dive coaster, if you don't know, the first hill, we had that little flat spot right before it went into the vertical drop. Now what this does is it actually holds the car there for a few seconds. So I love how this ride is kind of modifying gravity, thus the name and the concept. We're gonna do a lot of really cool things with the theming when we get into that in the next episode, so stay tuned for that. So what you saw me do so far is put the hill down with the hold at the top. Now, I wanted a few different elements to go into this coaster. Now, not all of them actually made it into the final design, which we will actually go in live and check out at the end of this, but the first was I wanted the first hill to go down under the main path. Now, you saw, you might be able to see it, I deleted it, I kind of hollowed out the ground under it, and then this first hill is going under that. So we're gonna have to make some sort of really cool bridge with the path, which will be part of the next episode. The second thing that I wanted this coaster to do is go toward the swings. Now, I didn't realize until I got this coaster over here that there's really not a lot of room over there, so I had tried to maybe work the coaster over to the swings and back. It wasn't really working, so instead we put the first hill into a dive loop. Now, I think it's a dive loop. You guys might, any of you coaster enthusiasts out there, may have to correct me a few times. I think I got the names of all the inversions down, but I'm not entirely sure. But you're seeing me right now kind of double back the track from the dive loop, and then it goes into this really looping roll. I don't know if there's a real name for this. It's kind of like a modified Immelmann Loop, I guess. But yes, this goes back over the now path, and this is really weird. This whole roll took a while to get down. I couldn't really nail it the first couple times, but in the end, I really, really like how this roll comes out. Now, I did want to mention that the whole gravity mod kind of concept really fits in with inversions. So there are a number of inversions on this ride. I believe we end up with 6 in total. But yeah, the first 2 are right up front, and then we actually go into what Okay, I originally had wanted this to, the track from here to go into a brake run, so we'd have some block brakes, maybe run a few more cars, and go into a beyond 90-degree drop. Now, you're going to see me kind of start to work on this. Now, in the end, we actually take this out because the game was just not having it for whatever reason. Now, this game, if you haven't played it, the rating system on the coaster measures everything. You're seeing me right now go ahead and put the beyond 90-degree drop. I think it came out to about 110. So instead of vertical, it actually sweeps back under the drop point and then back out. So that's what beyond vertical means, I guess. But yeah, this rating system in Planet Coaster for coasters, it takes the entire track and then kind of averages things out. And there's different ways that the excitement, fear, and nausea kind of intertwine to make the entire overall ratings done. Now, the problem with this is the game thinks that lift hills and brake runs are very, very boring. So if you have a really large hill, you need to counter that with a really exciting track to get a really good rating. Now, this track, for as many iterations as it took, never really got above a 7.0. I don't even think we hit like a 6.8 on the excitement. And I tried so hard to go through and revise this. And after a while, it ended up coming to a point of like diminishing returns almost. You're seeing right now, after the beyond vertical drop, we have a cutback, an overbank curve into somewhat of a, is that another dive loop? Yeah, I think so. And then this kind of flat roll I wanted to do. Now, I did actually want to mention that I tried to stay away from the pre-made inversions as much as possible. There is one instance where that was not possible, but we will talk about that later. Yeah, I wanted to make this kind of big barrel roll almost, and then doubled that all back to the brake run at the end. Now, in the end, this version of the track it just wasn't doing it for me or the game, really. It didn't have the ratings. I actually liked a lot of the elements in this design. Like I said, the vertical, or the beyond vertical drop, is something that we end up ultimately taking out of this ride, but we will probably have that in another ride. I love that element for some reason. One of my all-time favorite coasters, I guess if you didn't know, and I don't know why you would, but I love the Maverick at Cedar Point. That ride is great. It's so smooth, and it's got so many, like, I guess you could call them tasteful inversions, but one of the main elements is actually the beyond vertical drop, and it's so cool when you go over it, the first drop of the ride. But yeah, I love that element. I want to keep that in mind for maybe not our next coaster, but maybe the one after that. I'm not really sure where we're going to go from here. I'm really just focused on this ride right now. You saw me right now go ahead and go through, and I put another Immelmann Loop, I believe. Some of these inversions are loose interpretations of like actual inversions. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not like a coaster nerd. I just love going on roller coasters. But yeah, I'm not sure what some of these are called, but you guys can correct me. You'll be able to see all of the finalized ones. A lot of this, what we've just been working on, actually ultimately gets taken out of this ride. Like I said, I revised this ride a bunch to try to get that rating up, because Alpine Spirit in the background, the wooden coaster, it already had about a 6.3, I think, on the excitement. I wanted something to be a little bit more exciting. Now, you just saw me take out the mid-course brake run. There were a lot of revisions going on here, of course. This one, I think, was because the car wasn't quite making it over that last inversion that we've been working on. So what I tried to do is get the car up, I think, a little bit higher than originally done, and try to get it through this part of the track. Because like I said, I do like certain elements of this track that was originally laid out here. The corkscrew-ish, like the, I don't even know what to call that one, right before the barrel roll. I liked the barrel roll a lot. Now, it just ultimately didn't work, and we had to go through and actually revise this again. There was so much just giving up on stuff and trying to make this so much better. But this, I guess, kind of goes into my first rant, almost. Maybe not rant, but advice to you if you are building in this game. If you're in sandbox mode, don't care about the ratings. I mean, just build something that you want to build. Build a ride that is successful in your eyes. Maybe actually care about the nausea, because it's actually kind of hard, I've found, to get the nausea rating up into something that's not tolerable, I guess. Actually, right now on the screen, you're seeing me feebly attempt to make a loop. I wanted to just put a straight loop here, and it is so hard to design a loop for whatever reason. Maybe I'm just really bad at this, I don't know. The second little point that I want to make right now is, if you are not really good at this game, or you're having trouble maybe making something good, making a coaster, like a section of the coaster, come out nicely, just rough it out. Like, that loop, it's kind of like an inverted loop. Like I said, the inversions are so weird in this game, or on this coaster. But the one right beyond that first, or that other drop right there, that it's not really this whole section right now. It looks like a mess. But you can go in, and you can go ahead with the smooth tool and actually make the coaster look a lot better. As long as you kind of have like a general idea of how you want something to turn out, you can pretty much rough it out and let the smooth tool kind of make the overall shape into maybe what you pictured. Now, you'll definitely get the hang of the smooth tool. After 8 hours of working on this coaster, I've found the tools to be fairly intuitive. I love the fact that you can select multiple sections of the track at once, and then you can kind of narrow your selection or broaden your selection. So you can do a lot of work with the smooth tool. Just you gotta watch out for certain things like how far your banking offset is affected with the smooth tool. Now, this, I think we just completed the first real iteration of the coaster. It comes out with a 6.2 rating and then the fear of 4.3. I wasn't accepting that. I wanted to go ahead and make this a little bit better. So you just saw me go ahead and pretty much take out an entire section that I actually really enjoyed. It was kind of a bummer, but I was getting a little frustrated. I wanted to make something just work a little bit better. And you saw me go through with the heat maps. These are key in designing a coaster in Planet Coaster. You're gonna get a lot of information of where parts of the track maybe are lacking. Maybe, like I said, the hills and brake runs really kill your excitement rating, which, I mean, the lift hill really should be more exciting than it is in this game. You are going up the hill, you're anticipating the ride, you're excited, you finally got onto the coaster after such a long wait in the line, you're pumped, you're ready to go over that first drop. In this game, the guests are like, oh yes, this is quite boring. But it's not like that in real life. I really hope they come out and fix that, because I think a lot of coaster designers would be able to make a lot better, I guess, rated coasters in this game. But okay, so you saw me delete a lot of the track. I've opted to go with just a simple corkscrew, and like I said, just rough it out at first, because ultimately the smooth tool is going to take care of a lot of what the actual shaping of the part is going to be. The ratings for this last section were not good, so I tried my hardest to make something that was interesting for the guests in the game. You're seeing me right now actually go through and tweak a little bit of like the placement. That's another thing that I really liked about the designer. You can actually grab an entire section of this track and move it with the on-track editor a little bit. So this is actually, I think, version 3.0 of the end of this ride. The excitement rating was so bad around here, and for whatever reason, this game really loves airtime hills. Like, if you just do a simple up and down, the excitement rating goes through the roof. It's like a 12 almost every time, which is kind of absurd. It's a little trick that I used toward the end of the coaster, right there actually. We'll just give the guests a little bit of airtime. That'll bump the excitement of this area a little bit up. And this was really needed because I couldn't get this part to work. And when I designed this coaster, it was like, I wasn't sure, like, should I take parts out and just make it more simple? And then that didn't work, so I went through it. I actually deleted the entirety of that mid-course brake run, and I just ended up, I was so frustrated at this point. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna have the element that I wanted. Whatever. I just want to see if this adds to the excitement of this coaster. And ultimately, it did. Like I said, the guests really don't like mid-course brake runs in this game, or any brake runs. But yeah, you can see right there even, like, it bumped the excitement up even after we deleted all of the other inversions. This was a really simple version of the original layout that I had in mind. But in the end, it actually came out with a 6.4. Again, really not that big of a gain from, I think, the original revision. But I decided to even take this a step forward and try to get something a little bit cooler, because this is gravity mod. This is going to be a highly inverted coaster. So I wanted to do maybe like a big roll going up to this beyond vertical drop that I think I ultimately scratched at this point even. But this actually came out fairly nice from a rating standpoint. This even very rudimentary design came out to it just kept going up. It was almost a 6.5. And then I rode this on the POV and it was awful. Like, you're kind of seeing it right now. The first, or that little inline was terrible. And that's another thing about this coaster, or this rating system in this game. If you have like a very rough patch on the ride, sometimes the rating system is like, yeah, this is great. And you're like, no, this would like throw people into the hospital in real life. You need to smooth it out. And after you smooth it, the game's like, yes, this is drab again. And you're like, this sucks. So eventually, I actually scrapped this whole kind of inversion that I did. I went ahead and I grabbed a pre-made inversion. Now, I know this could be a cardinal sin of some hardcore players of this game. I, for the life of me, couldn't get a gravity roll working. I really wanted, or not a gravity roll, a 0G roll. I wanted to have that element in this right here, in lieu of what the original design was, which was that mid-course brake run. So we go ahead and get a pre-made section, and actually it's a really good inversion, a pre-made inversion in this game. There's a few of the prefabbed ones that are just not as great, but you can make them a little bit better. But this one, the 0G roll, is so smooth, so nice. It's really, really good to put in at this point. Now, I think we're actually getting toward the end of this. I went ahead and I took out that weird, like, inverted kind of sideways loop, and I went ahead with just a simple overbanked, or I don't even know if this turned out overbanked, but this whole kind of curved section over here with some really quick lateral turns into an Immelmann Loop. I believe that's an Immelmann Loop. Back to the corkscrew and then back to the station. So this is actually kind of boiled down from what I had originally set out for, but in the end, I think it really works pretty well. We still have the block brake section at the end. We're still getting 2 cars running, and actually, funnily enough, if that's a word, we have 30 passengers on this car, and I went back to the Alpine Spirit to check the train capacity, and it's also 30 passengers per train. So, yes, let's jump into the live portion now that that's all done and check out what we just did. Alright guys, so we are back in the live portion of this episode, and if you notice, it's now year 10. So another gripe that I think I have right now with this game, this one's not that bad, but you can't test a roller coaster if time is not moving forward in the game. So this is kind of weird because I feel like you should be able to test the Alpine Spirit. You should be able to test the coaster as the simulations pause, just because there's a lot to do at some points during this game, but you can't. But this, on the other hand, kind of makes it more realistic, because the design and construction of a coaster is definitely going to take some time, so it's not just instantaneously going to pop up. So overall, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Just note that it is now year 10, not that it really matters whatsoever. But yes, this is Gravity Mod. This is the brand new coaster. It's the dive coaster. We'll go ahead and check out the stats and maybe give you guys a POV at the end of this. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the concept and more about what I think I want you guys to do in the comments of this video. So obviously we need a color scheme for this coaster. Now, it's blue currently, and I've been used to seeing it as blue, but I'm sure you guys probably can visualize it as some other color. I don't really care what we're going with, but definitely give me some ideas for color schemes of this coaster. We'll go ahead and change it up, so I guess I'll give you guys a quick kind of overview of what the colors will look like. Now, we can change it to like a nice peach tan, maybe some red, maybe some green. Now this is going to be awful but I'm just kind of giving you guys a taste of what all of the colors are and how you can modify them. So the tan is kind of the track color, the red is the little inner supports, and then the green is the main color, and then the pink is that ugly support color. Now I think undo, maybe? Yes, you can undo. That's kind of cool. But yeah, this is something that we need to take care of in the comments. Now, my overall kind of concept for Gravity Mod is going to be, we're going to do some interesting things with the kind of scenery here. Now, I kind of want to make certain elements of the station. I'm kind of thinking of having this whole thing kind of in one building. It's going to be kind of awkward because it is obviously an awkward angle here. And this is actually one thing that threw me off when I started designing this ride, was just how weird this angle is to get a track laid out over here. Now, I am thinking of maybe adding like a top section that's open with a roof that appears to be floating there. We'll kind of hide some supports in the design of it. Stuff like that. I kind of want to make a sign out front, maybe like right here. We'll do some sort of signage with scenery that appears to be floating. We'll try to maybe add some effects like some dry ice or something to it to give that little bit of a visual thing to kind of draw people's eyes over to this coaster. Not that you're gonna have any like hard time seeing this coaster, as it is probably, I think it's the tallest. Yeah, it's definitely the tallest, well, besides this thing, which is surprisingly tall for what it is. But anyway, this coaster, let's go ahead and check out the stats here. Now, obviously we have nothing for Q scenery. We haven't really done anything, and I don't honestly know. You guys can answer this for me. If track scenery affects the excitement or fear or nausea or any of that. I'm not entirely sure on that, but you guys can let me know. Now, this coaster has a 6.44 excitement rating currently. The fear is a 4.3 or 4.13 rather, which is, I guess, good. And then the nausea is at 1.28, even though there are a total of 6 inversions, 2 airtime hills, and the overall max speed is 72 miles per hour. And the highest drop is, the biggest drop is 174 foot. Now, yeah, that's pretty much everything there is to talk about, I think. Actually, no, we haven't really talked about the track and the final design here. But you know what? We'll do that as we go for a POV. Let's go ahead and hop on this ride. All right, so we are leaving the station here with just a simple little turn. This is going to be kind of, I think, where either the exit or the entrance to the ride and the queue is going to be. Now, as we go up the main hill, it's actually pretty steep. I think I actually lifted this hill up a little bit from the original layout that you guys saw in the beginning of the time-lapse. But yes, we come over to the big keystone element of a dive coaster, and that is the drop. Now, this hangs for, I think, 2 seconds, goes under this main walkway, which is one of the things that I talked about I really wanted, into this kind of dive loop, right into this other roll. Now, this roll is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of slow, but it gets the job done, I think, and it's really graceful. The 0G roll right there into not an overbanked curve, but a really steep curve, and then into, I believe, an Immelmann Loop. Now, this could be a little faster, admittedly, whatever, into a corkscrew here, and then a little airtime hill, a little bit of a turn, and into the second airtime hill. And I think the ending right there could be smoothed out a little bit more. I'll probably do that in between episodes. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And as you can tell, it's pretty smooth. And I think, take pride in smooth designs. There are a few things that probably still need tweaking. I may actually go through and do that off camera because I've tweaked so much stuff on this ride so far. The supports on this ride are kind of all over the place. Now, I definitely tried to mind the supports a little bit, but there were certain things like this big roll here. I couldn't get a support to pop up in the right spot here. There should be something supporting it right here. We might do something with a scenery piece over there just to make maybe the car fly through something, and to give that a little bit of a visual support. Now you'll notice the head chop action here was kind of something out of necessity. I wanted to get the car back to the station over here, and I thought it might be a really good idea to have kind of a head chop over there. The zero gravity roll here doesn't have any support on it, so we're probably going to want to do something and maybe combine this corkscrew. This is kind of a signature part of this ride. Now we have two inversions kind of stacked on top of each other, so I think we can do something really cool with the scenery over here. So I'm looking forward to building that. We're going to have to do a lot of the terraforming throughout this area, and it's going to be kind of good because there are obviously some war scars, if you will, from the coaster revisions, but we'll be able to kind of tie this into something. Maybe we'll do something over here as well with terrain, just because this part of the park is extremely flat, and this part of the park we actually went through and did a bunch of terrain transformations. So we'll go ahead and maybe incorporate that a little bit over here, and maybe in the end we'll kind of make this kind of mountain range come all the way over here. Now I do also want to mention that this save will be up in the Steam Workshop, so you guys can go ahead and theme this coaster for yourself alongside of the series if you want to. Go ahead and send me some pictures on Twitter if you do, and I'll be sure to check those out. But guys, I think that's it for this episode. It's pretty long, but I did want to give you guys something because it was a little bit of a wild in-between episode. So guys, if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give me a thumbs down. Let me know any of your thoughts in the comments. I am down to maybe tweak anything in this ride because it's not a final thing just yet. But go ahead and throw some of your suggestions for the colors and overall theming. And until next time, I will be back here theming Gravity Mod.